Well, it's time to say goodbye to the state of Montana. I'm gonna miss this place. Sure is some beautiful country. Hopefully I'll get to come back sooner than later. I make my way south on Interstate 15, on the border of Montana into Idaho. I follow the interstate all the way south, back to the city of Great Falls in Idaho. I resupplied my food and gear and then headed east to Highway 33. Eventually I pass Victor, Idaho, and then make my way up the Teton Pass. My whole band climbed it just fine. Coming down, that was a different story. It got a little sketchy. My brakes failed, got super hot, but luckily there was a turnout. I pulled over and let my brakes cool down probably for 45 minutes to an hour. But hey, at least the view was good. I then make my way through the bustling city of Jackson. In just a short drive out of town, before I knew it, I was in the Grand Teton National Park. And to be honest, I didn't know what to expect before I got here. I've seen lots of documentaries on TV and watched videos on the internet, but none of that prepared me for the way I felt when I first seen that mountain range for the first time. To say it's amazing or beautiful would be an understatement, for sure. To me, there was no words to explain what it was. It was more of a deep down in your soul kind of feeling. It sounds kind of silly to say that out loud, but I just don't know any other way to explain it. There's no other place in the world like this, and you could just feel it. There's a place in Jackson Hole, just off the Highway 26, called Mormon Row. It's kind of a ghost town, but there's really nothing left but a few barns and a couple houses. In 1896, Mormons migrated from Salt Lake City to set up homesteads and to farm the fertile land. It was common back in the day to name these communities Mormon Rows. The U.S. Postal Service gave it an official name of Gravant, named after the river nearby. There was somewhere around 30 families on Mormon Row at the peak of its population. It was a pretty neat place to visit. The next morning I decide to take a hike to Taggard Lake. It's on the south side of the park. It's about 6 miles long. Fairly easy, and the incline's not so bad. It follows a creek most of the way up. The weather was nice and cool, so it made it easy for climbing. As you make your way up the trail, you get closer and closer to the Grand Tetons. The views were outstanding. Right after that view of the Grand Tetons, the trail veers off into the forest. The trees are real thick there, and it was blocking out the sun. It was probably my favorite part of the whole hike. Besides the giant mud puddles, it rained real hard the night before, made a mess of things. After a short walk through the woods, I finally made it to Taggard Lake. What a sight to see. The water was clear as glass, and there was a slight breeze in the air. And the backdrop of the lake was the Grand Tetons in all their glory. They were so close. It was so awesome. And the clouds were rolling over the peaks of the mountains like water. It was truly a sight to behold. As I made my way around the lake, I ran into a group of hikers, and then another group, and then some more. It's basically impossible to be alone in this park, but that's alright. I've got to meet a lot of people from all over this country. Heck, I've even met a few from the other side of the world. It's pretty wild to think about someone coming from a different continent to come look at our national parks. It just kind of goes to show you how special they really are. A few days later, I ended up going down to Jenny Lake. It was an awesome drive. Short, but awesome. I ended up on the north side of the lake, on Jenny Lake Overlook. I pulled over the van, grabbed my backpack full of camera gear, jumped down to the trail that circles the entire lake, and went south about a half mile to capture this awesome sunset. The weather was perfect. Everything was just great. I hiked up Shadow Mountain, just adjacent to the Grand Tetons. I wanted to get the sunset, but now it's getting dark and I got a long ways to hike back to the van. So come along, let's go for a hike downward. Got to get off this mountain before it gets dark. I don't want to get eaten by bears or wolves. All right, let's do this. Well, nature didn't get us this time. We made it back before it got dark. A lot easier coming down that hill than going up. I'm super out of shape. That was good fun. Great exercise. All right.